The offseason has been utterly insane. So many shocking drops, signings and trades. Pretty much 3/4 of the team seem primed to have an insane roster. However, many of these teams still have holes in their squad, and they will be needing more players. Today, I will be breaking down the holes in each roster and theorizing what free agents could end up on each team. A few things out of the way, I will not be talking about Dallas, Shanghai, Vancouver, Los Angeles Valiant or London Spitfire. Dallas and Shanghai have likely finalized their roster already, and the other three have had zero news about them. With that out of the way, let's get started. First, we'll discuss the Atlanta Reign. Atlanta has had a bit of a wild off-season, losing many of their main roster and getting top-tier North American talent to replace them. As for their holes, I think they are fine on DPS. If they really are getting Sigma, they have a top-tier projectile in Nero, a top-tier hitscan in Kai and a top-tier tracer specialist in Sigma. Their tanks are also fine. I only see them picking up a backup flex support like many are doing. The most likely option in my opinion is Lucamino from Odyssey, but Sluggo from Dark Modena could end up on the team as well. Next, Boston Uprising. Boston has made a ton of moves and looks to really impress next year. Picking up Striker and Crimzo is no joke. But who do they need? Well, I would say they need a hitscan specialist, a main tank and another flex support to round out their roster and account for extraneous meters. For their hitscan specialist, I would say they should promote Victoria from their academy team. Him and Stella were the best part of that team, and Stella likely would have been promoted if not for Striker's shocking return. Victoria it is I would say, but there is also Mia 1T from O2 Blast. As for their main tank, I think they are likely to pull from their academy team again and pick up Itzel to pair with Punk. Itzel has looked quite good, and he fills their needs perfectly. Honestly, there aren't too many Korean main tanks on the market either, unless they go for Sado. Finally, as for their flex support, they have a few options. They could pull a Striker and bring back Imgod. They could try to bring in Mosa from their academy team, or try to swipe Aztak or Gangnam Jin. I think Imgod is the most likely, but we'll see. Next is the Chengdi Hunters. First and foremost, I see them picking up a Power 1 Tar. He is pretty much the sole reason for their academy team's existence at this point, and he would dominate alongside Leave, Jinmu and Jimmy. As for their off-tank, I see them trying to grab Lige from the Spark, but considering Lige is quite good and the Spark likely want to keep him, they'll probably promote Riven. Their options are a bit limited as they are only Chinese, but I think they can still be a top team. Next, the Florida Mayhem. They are a bit of a wild card, but they have a roster coming together. They seem to be going for under-the-radar players that could still have value, somewhat like Boston's strategy these past few years. They are currently in need of another flex support, a main support, a tracer specialist, a hitscan and an off-tank. So lots of predictions. For their supports, my main predictions are Sanguinar for main and Exaroth for off. Sanguinar has been quite good recently and has a good amount of mechanical skill, while Exaroth is pointed at as one of the bright spots in Contenders Europe. I could also see God here if there is lack of interest, and Florida and him are willing to go fairly low. As for their tracer specialist, this could be a bit out of the dark, but I think Petal from Third Impact or Dalton will get the spot. Petal is pretty crazy in his games despite his relative lack of success, and Dalton is similar, being pointed to by many as having a great tracer despite the team's struggles. I would say that both of those guys have a shot at making Florida. As for their hitscan, another out-of-the-dark shot, but Naomi would be great for this team. He is a phenomenal hitscan out of Australian Contenders, and he would fill their remaining holes perfectly. As for their off-tank, they'll probably pick up someone's partner on Team CC, Woil. Next, we have the Hanzo charge. I think they would have the most success picking up M1K and Coldest. They looked rather good on Hanzo despite being benched a decent amount of the time, and would gel well with a mixed roster on Hanzo, as they already have experience there. However, just in case they don't want to go mixed and want to stick with Eileen and the Koreans, they'll probably find themselves with Ansunji or Idk on main support and attack or half on flex. I could also see them pick up Stand 1 or even Marv 1 to replace or bench Rio. They need a star of that role and Rio has fallen from grace. Next is Hanzo. They should promote Hyunji and Arnie. Straight up. It is the easiest and makes the most sense, and they have performed quite well for the team in the past. They should also promote Alfie and Lige, who are both insane players and consistently show up for the team. Alfie would replace Architect, so I guess they don't need him, but he would likely be an upgrade, to be honest. Next, the Houston Outlaws. They have made massive moves, however they still have holes at Hitscan, main tank and main support. Main support is the easiest. I see them signing Mazar and reuniting him with Pelican and IR1S, cementing their backline once again as one of the best in the league. As for Hitscan, I still feel like Glister would be the best to fill that role for them, as his hero pool is very close to Happy's, but I could also honestly see Shockwave there too. Shockwave is an insane player who can flex to several projectile heroes. I am going to predict Glister, but Shockwave will not surprise me. Finally, main tank. The main tank pool has run dry a bit, but fear not. Stand 1 and Belosria are still on the market, and they would still find plenty of success with Ray signing Jang as well. Next, the Los Angeles Gladiators. All they really need is a great flex DPS, and they are pretty much set. Wood, Eco, No First and Adu are still on the market. Adu or Wood would be my guesses, but maybe they'll surprise us. Next, the New York Excelsior are making increasingly drastic moves to catch up to the rest, and I think they'll continue. Right now, they are in need of a pure projectile DPS, an off-tank, a main support and a backup flex support. For their off-tank and flex support, I predict they will sign Gargoyle and Gangnam Jin. They likely want to stick with their homies Yaki and Kaki, and they were pretty good on Florida. I think they'll find a new home here. As for their pure projectile DPS, I could see them picking up although he plays for O2 Blast and has found relative success compared to a lot in contenders. He'd be a good partner and backup to Yaki. Then for main support, I could see them grab Idk, Aiden or Ansunji. Honestly, not many options for Korean main supports right now. Next is the Paris Eternal. I am going off the assumption that they will continue to be all European next year, despite some signs that they could be moving away from that direction. They are in need of a hitscan, a tracer specialist, an off-tank and a backup flex support. For their hitscan, I could see them pick up Grathon, and for their tracer specialist honestly see them picking up Dove, or even re-signing Tsana. Not much EU talent out there. As for their backup flex support, most likely Slay from Shoes Money Crew. He's been quite good in contenders. And as for their off-tank, who else but Poco? Also worth a mention is that Shockwave could find his way here as hitscan should he not be put on Houston. Next, the Philadelphia Fusion. They are in need of a main tank, an off-tank, a main support and a backup flex support. For their main tank, most likely Belarosa. Despite the T1 slander recently, he's pretty good and rivals someone for the title of second best main tank in Korean contenders. Sado is also another option. CLESTYN is a bit less hyped, but will likely wind up on the team. Michelle is also still on the market, as is Case. There are more options for off-tank than main tank. As for main support, again from T1 is unique. This is just the most obvious one I can think of. Then for backup flex support, maybe Aztac or half or Quayside. Slim pickings. I know it's a lot of T1, but Fusion will be fine, I promise. Next, the San Francisco Shock. They are in need of another flex DPS, a main support and an off-tank. I would say the most likely main support is Moth. He would reunite with his 2019 buddies with Ninek there and has a lot of proven synergy with Super and Vile 2T. His presence was missed a bit, though God is still good. As for an off-tank, I see them grabbing F4ZE from O2 Blast. He is the most obvious one, on a dominant team, and can be reunited with 3 of his buddies, and possible O2 boss as well. I think he'd fit nicely. Finally for flex DPS there are a few, Dude, Wood, Eco, the usual. Special shout out to Tuber though, he is a decent player who Krusty has spoken highly of in the past. Next up is the Seoul Dynasty. I expect them to go to Gibulsai. He is on the market, and is still very good despite Boston's lackluster season. I think he'd be a boon to them as a backup to Smurf, as he is quite flexible. Next is the Toronto Defiant. They are in need of a backup flex support and a new hitscan and flex player to be next to Hisu. I think Toronto will get some big names here. They aren't flaking out. I could see them picking up Mia1T from O2 Blast to be his partner in double hitscan and hitscan Somber Tracer meters, and then likely a duo or Alfie to partner with him for projectile. Finally for backup flex support, half or God are most likely. Finally, the Washington Justice. They really only need a main support. I'm guessing they are going to get Jecse if they want the experience, or Subguinar or Unique from Contenders. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed, remember to like and subscribe for more. I upload daily Overwatch League content and am trying to hit 100 subs by Season 5, so any subscription helps greatly. Thanks.